Right TV Uganda Youth and Prominence Program. At Youth and Prominence Program, we invite young people to come and inspire you, encourage you, challenge you, and just give you their life stories. Right now, we have a guest in studio. My name is Sarah Byamkama, the host, and you can find us on all social media platforms, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Just type in Right TV Uganda, right as in RITE, Youth and Prominence Program. Even if you add the word Sarah Byamkama, Youth and Prominence Program will roll. So our guest is an amazing young lady. She is called Sophie Tumwesige. Sophie Tumwesige, you are very welcome to Right TV.
Wow, thank you so much, Sarah.
Sophie, it is so nice to have you here.
I am so honored and humbled to be here.
We are more honored at Youth and Prominence Program.
Thank you.
I know that you have a word to inspire young people.
Thank you.
You have a word to encourage them. I've heard your story. I would sit and hear it again. That's a fact. And
Wow.
it blesses me at my age, over 10 years your senior. But I can't imagine what's going to happen to the young people out there. So young people, Youth and Prominence Program, we are out for a beautiful day. Sophie Tumwesige, I would like you to introduce yourself to us.
Thank you once again, Sarah. Thank you, Right TV Uganda. Just like she mentioned, or you have mentioned, my name is Sophie Ashaba Tumwesige.
Ashaba, I forgot that name.
Yeah, Ashaba is my maiden name, and Tumwesige is my husband's name. Though I proudly carry around my husband's name.
I know.
So my name is Sophie Ashaba Tumwesige, and I am born and raised in Lyantonde. I'm born in a polygamous Muslim family, a family of 13 children, if I know well. The rest I don't know.
I like that.
Yeah, the ones I know are like 13. Yes, like 13. 5 of which are my mother's side. We are 5 of us.
Wow.
3 girls and 2 boys, and I happen to be the second born, or the eldest girl. So that's where I am born, that's where I was raised. And that was 36 years ago, I think. I'm growing old. It's around 15 February 1985. That's when I was born.
You're still a youth.
Yeah. That's when I was born. And that's where I went to school. In my primary, I went to a school called Ronald Ruta Nursery and Primary School. That was a school in a neighborhood. And by that time, I think now it is still. It used to be one of the best primary schools, I think, in the entire, Lyantonde. So that's who I am, and I am married to Mr. Justus Tumwesige, and together the Lord has blessed us with 5 beautiful, amazing children, 4 biological and 1 adopted, and we bless the Lord for that.
Sophie, for some reason, today I felt like you mentioned the name Ashaba. It caught my attention. Sophie, when you look back, what did that name do to you? Ashaba. Ashaba means the one who prays. Am I right?
Yes, you are right.
What did that name do to you, Sophie?
Interestingly, there was something about my naming when I was growing up that I didn't know. It was after I overheard my mother. I was a little girl. It was a name that was given to me by my mother, Ashaba. And my father had another name, Kenyanji, because I was told I was a little chubby, lovely girl.
Lovely.
Yeah. So
you still are.
Exactly. So my father had a different name, and he preferred to call me Kenyanji. Like an egret, a beautiful bird.
I know, yeah. I can see it.
But now later, and as I was growing up, I liked that name. I would call it myself. It was until later that I overheard that the reason my mother did not like that name was that Kenyanj was a renowned witch doctor that my father liked. So it's interesting. So when I also heard that, I was like, okay, to do away with this name, let me keep my Ashaba name. So So for some reason, that's how
So
I
you
kept
keep
that.
Ashaba.
Yes, I kept the Ashaba name.
But if Ashaba means the one who prays,
The one who prays.
wasn't that name prophetic in retrospect when you look back?
It was, given the fact that my mother is born in a family where is born in a strong revivalist family by that time. So I would want to think that it was not an accident for her to name me Ashaba.
At the start of this program, you know, I also get Mirembe because of my mom's intervention as a name.
Yes.
Sophie, the name Mirembe speaks peace.
True.
Even I'm called Biamkama now because I'm married to Engineer Biamkama. But even when I'm in turmoil and I tell myself, Mirembe, Ejaye Sujiriwa, I settle. So today it just occurred to me when you reminded me that actually you called Ashaba. I said, that Sophie realized the power of this name in her life, and I wanted to bring that out immediately as we start, so that later in the program, people will be able to associate everything that has happened to the one who prays.
The one who prays.
Sophie Tumwesije, Ashaba is our guest at Right TV Youth and Prominence program. And Sophie, you've done your kindergarten and you've gone to your primary school.
Yes.
How is life at home? Are both your parents there full time? What is Diantonde like?
Diantonde is and was by that time a highly urbanized town. We grew up in a time when the HIV epidemic had hit many townships around the border. I think if I remember, Kalisizo, Chotera, Rakai, Diantonde was one of them. So we grew up in that kind of lifestyle, and it was a very, if I am to describe it right now, if I look back, it was a very risky environment, I think, for parenting and for bringing up a child, especially a girl child, single-handedly. Yeah, my father was, at first my father was around, but later he became an absentee father. He was a businessman, so he was never used to be at home many or much of his time. So we mostly grew up with our mother in that busy township. And it was an interesting time, of course, with towns like that. We also have a high level of moral decadence. Actually, I remember I did my undergraduate, I did my research, the effects of the HIV virus on the environment. And my case study, I had to go back to the Diantonde because I had to find out
what did it leave?
Yeah, what did it leave
in the place?
In the place. So that's how we grew up, and of course at a later stage, just like I have told you, our mother tried by all means, I don't know whether to use the word tame us, but she was very strict. I think after realizing that the environment was risky, she was very strict with us. She would sometimes terrorize the young boys that would play with us because I think she wasn't safe with how the environment was. And I remember, I think I shared one of the stories with my friends, that there is one vivid story I remember growing up. When I was in P4, we had neighbors within the community where we lived, and they were staying together, so they decided to go legal. They get married, and a friend of mine who happened to be my age mate, actually not a friend but an age mate, we were made bridesmaids, and that was around, we are both in P4 by the same age. And then we had a flower girl, we had a best man and matron, we had the groom and the bride. But what I remember years later, the entire bridal entourage, they all passed away to HIV. It's me that is still living. And when I look back, I'm like, how did I really survive if it wasn't God? So that is how Yantonde was, the time when we were growing up. Of course, now it's much better, but the effects are still there, I would say.
I am imagining a young girl in the same community with many other people. You are a bridesmaid at a wedding, and a few years down the road, everybody on the bridal team, best man, matron, groom, bride, all the bridesmaids, peg boy and flower girl, perish. And you can point it to HIV that had ravaged Yantonde. Youth and Prominence Program is here to inspire you, encourage you, challenge you. I want us to understand Sophie's predicament. Today, what is on your bench? Social media, drugs, pornography, and parents may not be there all the time. But what rescued Sophie? Sophie, your mother didn't even know that was coming, but she allowed you to be a bridesmaid.
Yeah, because we were her friends. And I also, just like we started with the name Ashaba, I also remember when I was a little girl, I spent much of my time with my grandmother, who is still living by now. I thank God for her, around 96 years and above.
Oh, number.
Yeah, and she's still a revivalist. We call her an ambassador for Christ because she has, even at that age, she still preaches the gospel. Wow. So my staying with her introduced me to knowing Christ at an early age. I was a Muslim, I was born a Muslim, but I did not know, I was young. But when I stayed with my grandmother, I learned the songs like Tukutendereza. I would sing those songs wherever I went with her, because that was her lifestyle. Yeah, she would hold my hand, we go to church, and that was the lifestyle that I had with her in the initial stages of growing up. Because at some point when I think my mother, my immediate follower, came in early, and my mother had to take me to my grandmother in Mbarara, in a village called Durampara. So that's where I went, and that's where I picked the values of Christianity as a young girl. But even when I went to school, that is in Ronadiruta Primary School, yes, we would go to the mosque, but it wasn't my passion. I would really not, because I think as a child, I was a bit, I don't know whether confused. I have this strong Christian family. Now there is this other Muslim family that I am born in, and my mother doesn't subscribe to it, though she is married to a Muslim. So it was all a little bit confusing. Yeah, for me growing up.
Oh.
Yeah, and I remember when I was in P7, that was at Ronadiruta, we were going out for the usual Friday prayers, and one of my SST teachers called me behind, and I still remember that statement. He told me that you are not meant to go. He wasn't born again. He was like any other person. And somehow, instead of going for prayers, I just went home and had lunch. So I don't know whether to call it destiny kept coming, as in kept shaping itself into the kind of person wanted, and the kind of person God wanted me to be. Yes.
The name is Ashara, the one who prays.
The one who prays.
Some of the prayers we say them silently.
True.
And some of them we say them prophetically. So we complete primary 7, and where does the Lord take us?
Yeah, we complete primary 7, and by that time I had my other brother, my other elder brother, the one I follow, the firstborn. Both of us were in P7. We complete, and then after, my father somehow disappears. Anyway, not disappear, because we are used not him to be around. So my father was nowhere to be seen. My friends go to the good schools that they always dreamt about, King's College, Budo, Weranyanji, and you know, those were some of the schools I really wanted to go to. Yeah, but the mere fact also that my father was not around, my mother did not have enough. Actually, when the rest went to school, for us we spent a little bit more time behind.
At home.
Yeah, maybe like 2 weeks because my mother had to go look for a school. She also had to look for money, which money was not there.
I know.
So she remembered there is a cousin or a nephew of his who has a school in Kabale. There is a school called Kabale Trinity College. So I know
Kabale Trinity College.
Exactly. So my mother goes to that school and asks for an admission, and gladly the head teacher or the director by that time accepts to take me up.
Hallelujah.
So I went to senior 1, but that wasn't my choice. I remember I spent like my first term crying because it was a whole new experience. It was my first time to go to Kabale. Kabale was very far.
Of Bweranyanzi.
Yeah, Kabale was very far. I went there. It was not, then I started falling sick. Then I started, the weather was so cold. So everything was new. I remember when my mother took me there and she left, I felt like I had been abandoned. Yeah, I was just 13 years old. So I felt I had been abandoned in this lonely. But thank God when I got there, I had some other friends of mine who I found that were also young like me. And somehow we found favor before some old students. We found favor before the administrators, the teachers. Somehow they treated us like babies. They treated us like babies, and as time went on, I settled in the school, finished my senior 4, got a second grade, and then here I was in my vacation. I used to be in Scripture Union, but I had really not like committed my life to the Lord. I was there, I was accompanying people that would go for prayers. I was trying to be the good girl, but I had my own issues. And most of my issues were family issues, because I would leave home without school fees at times. I would leave home without not all the basic necessities. So I grew up not a satisfied person, I think. I like to envy what others had, which I really didn't have as a young girl. So that was like my life in O level. That's how it was.
So Dad is not home most of the time?
Yeah, Dad is not home most of the times.
And Mommy is toughing it out alone?
Yeah, he's trying to do it alone, borrowing loans here and there from the different circles, getting stressed, and at some point you would come back home and you find that even the chairs in the house would be used as security to get a loan. Yeah, to get a loan, to pay for school fees, because now we are my brother and I, my other younger sister who follows me, my younger brother who follows, and then the last born, a girl. So it was so big.
What would you tell a child out there who is with their mother? Many of us grew up like that. Okay. And Mommy is trying to make ends meet. And you also see that other children are better than you.
Okay. Well, I think what I can tell someone outside there is to, one, when you have respect for your parents first, I think that is very key. The Bible talks about it. And I want to thank God that somehow we grew up with that kind of respect for our parents. So we respected our mother, and we knew that even as she goes through that kind of life, we had to cooperate with her. We would do a few things that she would tell us to do. We had a small shop and would make some daddies for pocket money. And at times, I was telling a friend of mine that I remember the time when we had too many yellow bananas in our plantation. And so that time, we are about to go back to school. So we go to the garden, we get those yellow bananas. We bring them home and they are very ripe. They were very good. And now we wondered, we are not going to eat all of them and finish them. So this woman sat. She cut these bananas, put them in a basket. I remember me, my younger sister who is now doing a PhD in the UK. And the young boy who I told you just completed his bachelor's in mechanical engineering. So we are 3 of us at home. And my mother sits and I think looks at these girls. It's like, if I give these 2 girls to go out and sell these bananas, it's not safe. So he got those bananas, put them on the basket, and gave them to my brother. Up to now, I look back and I'm like, oh my God. So the boy went with a basket of bananas to sell them. When he got to the field, he put the basket down and they ate all the bananas without paying.
He played.
Yes. Now for us, we had our share, which we had put in the shop to sell. Now when he came back home, I imagine up to now he remembers he got a very thorough beating.
Oh dear, he was a businessman.
Yeah, he got a very thorough beating for not selling the bananas. And our mother also used to tell us on several occasions, he would tell us to be satisfied with what we had. And of course, she also had her own issues. I imagine taking care of the 5 of
children.
us single-handedly. She should not have a stable source of income. And she knew that if we befriended children who I think for her she perceived that the children whose parents, you both have daddy and mommy at home and they were rich, maybe physically or they were rich. So she would always warn us not to befriend children of the rich. And I still remember the phrase he would tell us in Unyankole, "Muleche kwemanyiza abana babagiga, mumanye ennaku yanyu." So we grew up knowing that actually, abana babagiga, you do not befriend them. You are poor, you know your level.
No, but in a way she was safeguarding.
Yeah, in a way she was safeguarding us, because it also created this sense of what I have, I have. After some time, what I don't have, it is okay. As in,
godliness with contentment is great gain. That's what the Bible says. So after O-level, did we go back to Trinity? Because I'm trying to follow your path. Did we go back to Trinity? Because we need to find a way. How do you get to higher education?
Higher education. After O-level, I was actually in my vacation. I came and I have a cousin sister of mine who was in Kampala, who stays in Kampala. And that was my first time, I think, to come to Kampala. I was so excited. So I came and I stayed with her for my O-level. So when I was going back, she had saved some little money, I think, to do some shopping for me.
Wow.
Now, the time when we were going to Nakawa, I heard how we were walking. Didn't they steal the money and we go back home?
Sophie.
They stole the money. We went back home and I remember her calling my mother and telling her, you know what, I wanted to buy a few things for her, but we couldn't. I have only managed to get for her transport the entire vacation. I went back home. I found the home that I left is still the same home. It hadn't changed. Some of the basic necessities, of course, we wouldn't have them, and that is the same home that I found. My siblings, I found them there. And here I was, my mother, telling me I have nothing to do. But we need to see how we go to A-level. So I had to call the school director and asked for a vacancy myself for senior 5. Good enough, I was given the vacancy to go back to the same school for A-level. That's how I went back to Calvary Trinity College for O-level. For A-level, sorry. Yes.
Thank you so much, Sophie. Sophie is still with us, but we would like to take a short break. This is Youth and Prominence program on Right TV Uganda. Thank you.